Good morning and welcome to SimWorld. Today, a shout out before we do anything to B. Ronstradamus. Appreciate him holding down the fort. Last week, as always, he's a fantastic fill-in, so appreciate him being the guy that does it. This morning, we've got plenty to talk about. How about the Thunder? Not just bouncing back, storming back. Some weird things in Phoenix and some interesting reclassifications and returnings in college basketball. But let's start with game two. That's where we've got to start, where the Thunder just overwhelmed and were simply far better than the Indiana Pacers to even this thing at a game apiece. I don't think that result should be all that surprising, right? I mean, this was a game that you knew OKC had to come back. In game one, OKC was the better basketball team. And in game two, outside of the first quarter until about the final 2 minutes of the quarter, OKC was the better basketball game. So if you look at it, this is a team, Oklahoma City, that's been better in 8 quarters. They've been better for, I don't know, 7 of them, 7.5. They've just been the better basketball team. And so what I thought the difference was in the second quarter, and that you could feel it a little bit at the end of the first. It was 21-20, I think, and then it became 24-20, and then it became 26-20. And that's when, to me, it felt like, okay, there's momentum building on the opposite side. And really what it was two things. One, Tyrese Halliburton did not have a good game. This is another really quiet game from Halliburton. After he had the really good game, that 30-point, no turnover masterpiece, he hasn't really been great since then. Yeah, he hits that final shot, but I thought that was a Pacers comeback, not a Halliburton comeback. He was not good, and that shouldn't be surprising in that the Pacers just bring so many defenders, right? It's primarily Lou Dort, but then you bring Alex Caruso. Then you've got Aaron Wiggins. Then you've got Cason Wallace. Shea's not bad. Jalen Williams is good. Like, there's so many options for the Thunder that's the big challenge. And this was something we talked about in the preview. Who's going to create on the ball when it's not Halliburton? And this was the concern that I had with this Pacers team and saying, what's the difference between Indiana and Minnesota? Minnesota's second guy was Julius Randle. Pascal Siakam is the second guy. He had a good game one, a lot of rebounds, kind of no-showed in game two. There was a lot of times where I'm just looking around the floor saying, is Halliburton out there? Is Pascal Siakam out there? Who is out there? And at times it kind of felt like it was Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith had a really good game, but there wasn't the consistent, we got a guy. And the second part was, I think it was just, and Mike Breen called it the Thunder Avalanche, not wrong. There was a point there in the second quarter where shots just stopped falling, right? Open looks, and this was in the beginning of the game as well, open looks for the Pacers just weren't going in. Mid-range shots weren't going in. Open threes not going in. To me, that's when, and look, that shouldn't be surprising. A team stops making shots. That should be surprising that they're not going to win the basketball game. But it was at the most inopportune time, because at that very moment, that's when the Thunder started making shots. That's when the Thunder started rolling. And Indiana's got to find a way to, I thought they've done a good job of playing at their pace. I thought they did a better job of forcing turnovers, though they still had a lot of questionable turnovers. But Indiana has got to find a way to get Halliburton going. And that's much easier said than done, because the question marks that we're talking about Halliburton right now are the same comments that we were making about Anthony Edwards before him. It's the same questions we were having about Jamal Murray before him. And you know what? John Morant said it's a good thing that he got hurt for the Thunder because he had them figured out. I'd love to know what that figured out was, because it doesn't seem to be that anybody has this Oklahoma City thing figured out. Speaking of figured out, let's go to Phoenix, where in the desert, Matt Ishbia has hired a brand new head coach, brand new general manager, and sent out a memo saying, I'm not going to do this like the other owners. Boy, I've got some concerns, folks. First off, the first interesting point is Michigan State. I mean, Matt Ishbia is hiring Michigan State on top of Michigan State. So he's, of course, played in the late 1990s, 99 to 2002. You can make your own assumptions on whether he was deserving of that spot or not. There's people that will tell you both sides of that argument. I would tend to argue maybe that's not necessarily true if you kind of understand the politics of basketball and the time in which we were in SimWorld U. Okay, that's the first thing, right? Second thing, Matt Ishbia. In his memo, he says that he's not going to do things like other owners. He's done what you're supposed to do. Hire the people, hire the experts, sign the checks, and get things done. He's not going to do that anymore. If he's not going to do that anymore, and there's also reports out there might be some question marks about how much money Matt Ishbia actually has at his disposal, the Suns thing ain't going to get much better because everything that he's been doing has really not been actually good at all, right? He was the one that spearheaded the Kevin Durant trade just hours after taking over this team. He's the one that wanted them to go out and get Bradley Beal. There's a lot of drama that I just am not educated enough on to talk about with Matt Ishbia and the organization and his hiring practices. But what I can tell you is the decision-making from this team is what everyone calls, right, new owner syndrome, right? I'm not breaking the news of new owner syndrome, but it's there. I mean, it is there with this guy, and he's doubled down to a point. I've always been a little skeptical that we hear people talking about, well, hey, look, you trade away all these picks, right? The Clippers trade away all these picks. The Rockets trade away picks. The Nets trade away picks. And it's always doom and gloom. The Lakers did it. This is going to be terrible. I can't believe they're mortgaging this future. For the most part, I accepted that to be true, but also kind of wondered, I mean, I don't know. What if these teams are like mediocre? Like, it's not like they're going to suck, right? Like, you're trading away picks 3-4 years down the line. The picks from the Clippers haven't really hurt them that went to Oklahoma City. The Nets managed to get theirs back. The Rockets managed to do just fine. I think the drama, the concern over, well, these guys don't have their picks, felt a little overblown. The Suns kind of felt like it's not going to be because they have mortgaged his future at the most inopportune time. And it appears like they're going to keep doing it. I don't know what more they can do. They've traded away every single first-round pick they've got. Their only pathway to success, it would appear, I would say that because there's just no way to look at this team right now and make sense of it. But it would appear that the best trade is Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. But I don't think they're going to do either of those, even if that makes the most logical. Kevin Durant would seem like the most logical and the definite to do. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And if I'm an opposing team, I'm not going to say, well, let me break out the bank to get Kevin Durant because I know they have no leverage. Devin Booker, I think if you trade him, you're not going anywhere unless you're getting your first-round picks back, and nobody's going to try to trade ththose first-round picks back to you. They want to see you fail. They want to see you with this roster that's poorly built not have success. So unless this team strikes perfectly on every single deal and finds a way to do what Oklahoma City and Houston did, which was clear cap space, be the team that welcomes in cap space, and allow those to be the vehicles of which you add first-round picks down the line that you can then turn around and use to build out your roster, I don't think that's happening in Phoenix, and they kind of need it to. So this ownership group that says we're going to do things differently now, you've been doing things differently. It has not worked out. You are the prime example of why new ownership syndrome exists. You're the prime example of why this team isn't any good. You've put nothing of relevance on this roster since you had a team that was 2 wins away from an SWBA championship. You had everything. You were doing everything right, and you decided to rock the boat too much. Don't rock the boat, and it appears rocky seas are ahead for the Phoenix Suns because of Matt Ishbia. Let's go to college, where big news over the weekend. Both Lacedarius Outlaw and D. Woodley, the top 2 vote getters for the American Conference, among a couple other players, are all returning to college basketball. The other notable one, Lorenzo Phenom, though I think Lorenzo Phenom was more of a late 20s first-round pick. I think that him coming back, I could see the pathway for that making sense. LDO and D. Woodley, though, are surprising. Now, what does that mean? VIL feels like the right answer to that, right? They look around and they say, hey, we're lottery picks. I don't know who's funding the Memphis and Jackson State especially, VIL funds, but hey, look, I mean, it would seem someone's doing it. I'm not reporting on anything. I'm just speculating here with us. But it would appear that there's some type of additional funding for this team. But this one is really surprising because I thought D. Woodley was probably a teens pick. I thought Lasterius Outlaw was a top 12 pick, maybe 8 to 12 range, depending on who needs a guard in that range. This is still surprising. And those are $5 million deals. I don't know the exact breakdown of how much money guys make in that range, but those would feel to me like deals that are worth quite a bit. So if you're saying, hey, well, they're getting VIL money to return, that's big coin going their way. It would feel like the entire budget for both Memphis and Jackson State, who are not Kentucky, Duke, North Carolinas, right? I mean, if it was coming back to one of them, I could understand it. And I see plenty of people when this news broke commenting and on social media saying, well, look, pursuit is number one. Can't settle for anything else but number one. I'd push the brakes on that mentality of you got to get to number one. I think next season is a better argument to be going further, but if you look at the landscape, I think the top 5 is going to be some combination of Justin Bell, Arthur Lattimore, D'Angelo Jordan, Japhett Towns. That's kind of where it is. Do I think Lasterius Outlaw's better than those guys? Maybe. Do I think D. Woodley's better than them? No. I don't. But, so you're moving up 5 spots? I mean, I guess that's great, but you're also pushing out your opportunity to develop at the SWBA level an entire season. So I can understand the logic for Lorenzo Phenom, a guy that was not expected to be a top pick in the draft. I can understand the logic for some of these guys that are, further down. I'm checking the list of guys who were returning. Hold on. Shea King, Dominic Bianco. Bianco, I can 100% understand. Shea King, yeah, I thought he was a teens, but I don't know that anybody's draft stock is moving up dramatically. LDO, maybe. But I don't think D. Woodley is. I don't think Lorenzo Phenom is. I think there's a lot of question marks around Lorenzo Phenom in general. So this decision by these guys to move off the roster or return back to the programs that they were with, it's just, I don't know. I don't like it, but it also feels a lot like there's VIL money in it. It also makes me wonder who's giving them this advice, right? Who's talking to these guys saying we should return? Because the way you return is if there's a really dramatic chance for a lot of growth, right? If you're a Lasterius Outlaw, and he's the only one that I see as like a growth opportunity, why are we doing it? Because now you're looking at Lorenzo Phenom 4 years in college basketball. Shea King, Shea King couldn't make a hit in the G League, and now he couldn't make a hit enough that he's going to come back to college basketball. I think that's a question mark. The same for Dominic Bianco. D. Woodley, he's going to be, I think, a junior or senior. I think a senior, right? So you didn't get better as the crop of talent walks in the door. Outside of Lasterius Outlaw, and even that one, if you're going to be a lock in the lottery, why risk going back to college basketball and being exposed in any way, shape, or form? To me, it's a very big gamble from guys that two of which didn't need to. Everyone else I can understand. But if I'm Shea King, I'm probably striking while the iron's hot. If I'm Lorenzo Phenom, I'm doing the same. Because Phenom, paint-bound, unathletic big man, that's not really one that gets a lot of attention. Now, look, we've seen Zach Edey have a very similar path through college basketball. He made it into the top 10 as a draft pick. That's maybe the best path forward. The other ones, returning home doesn't make a lot of sense. We're back tomorrow morning here on SimWorld Today. Appreciate you tuning in on SimWorld TV. Only place you can see the game, be the game.